I'd like to welcome all of the classrooms in the California State Public High Schools. As you know, the Visual Effects Society believes that there are lots of great jobs in the visual effects industry. We're working with Allison Frenzel of the California State Public Education, and we're working with Brick Foundation to reach all of you and encourage all of you to try various jobs in the visual effects industry. Today, I am extremely happy to introduce Neishaw Ali. Neishaw is not only on the board, but she is the first woman in all of Canada to be president of a visual effects company. She was born in Guyana. She was born to a family with 10 siblings. So I just want to encourage all of you that there is room for you in this industry, and Neisha's going to talk about production and what it takes to run a studio. And we're going to get a 30-minute presentation from her. And at the end, I will, please feel free to ask questions, have your teachers ask the questions, and we will go from there. So at this point, I am going to turn it over to Miss Neishaw Ali.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I don't know, Rose, feels like I've been in the industry forever. I'm starting to feel old here. But I want to share with you today the reason why I am in the industry. And it's really because the joy, the childlike curiosity I feel whenever we work on a project, and from start to finish, what we start off with and where we end up. It is so amazing. I don't know what else I would do if I was not in the visual effects industry. So I hope today my little presentation will give you a little taste of this beautiful industry so that you can be inspired to be whoever you want to be. Let me try to figure out the IT side of it by sharing my screen. Okay, there we go. I'm going to try this, share, and then I'm going to come back here and play stop. Is everyone seeing my screen?
Looks good, Neishaw.
Okay, perfect. So here we are. This is one of the creatures that we created for Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's one of the latest Marvel show. And I want to show you, before I get started with the talking, I thought it might be best to show you visuals, to show you some of our work, because our work will help you to understand, what it is we do. I will press play. So that's some of our work. And as My friend Rose said Spin has been around for a very long time, so that's not all of it. We have tons of work. So how did we do that? It's a question on everyone's mind. When I was growing up, I could never have appreciated what went on in order to create a movie that I would see. I was ignorant of so many things. So I'm really happy to share some of the behind the scenes with you today. There are usually 3 stages of production, and within each stage, there are multiple things that have to be done, and it is all teamwork. So right now, you guys are in school and you're working in one classroom, and you work independently, but sometimes you work on projects. Well, think of this as really one big project that hundreds of people are working within. And so you all have to collaborate, communicate, and you have to get along. So pre-production is the first stage of the production, when you do get a green light from production, from the executive teams at whether it's Warner Brothers or Sony or Netflix. Then you go into production. Production is when you're shooting the live action. And then post-production is when you couldn't get it in camera because of safety, or this world has never been created before. That's where we come in. So let's start with pre-production. What I've decided today is to take one of our projects and walk you through that so you can begin to see how it was built. I hope I don't bore you. If any of you fall asleep, I will find out later. So we first start with the script. So we would receive the script and we'd read through it, and the script goes through many revisions. And, we take a look at each revision and say, okay, what has changed? What is going on here? Is what's happening with Jess on this page? So that's the first thing that happens in any production. You always start with a script, and you hope it's a great and compelling script, because it is about telling a story, right? It is about telling a story. So after the script and the show has been greenlit, you now are in the writer's room, because you're doing rewrites and you're making sure that, the action and the way things are happening is really going to resonate with the audience, which is us, basically. So that's what happened. And some days, I will tell you, it is not easy. And then after that, after you've got a script that works really well, and as you can see, there are many scrunchy papers. That happens all the time. Now we do it digitally most of the time. So we save a lot of trees, which I love. But then you get into the script breakdown and budgeting. That is where the rubber meets the road, ladies and gentlemen. It is because you can have a great script, but we have to be able to shoot it, and we have to be able to, so in order to shoot it, we have to be able to finance it and get the money, and everyone has to be on the same page with what we're going to shoot and how much it's going to cost, because someone's got to pay for it. So you figure that out, but in order to do the budgeting, you not only have to budget what we need to shoot on set and costume, and you'll have to budget, whatever the directors and actors' fees and all sorts of things. You also have to then do a large breakdown of every visual effect shot within the movie, because you have to make sure you're providing for it, because that happens after you finish shooting. So for example, we would go through the entire script. We would break down shot by shot by shot. We would assign a price. These prices, don't hold me to it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't hold me to it. These are arbitrary numbers that I've replaced and put in there. But the shot breakdown in itself is accurate. So for example, we will have a little mark of, so we have JPEG, so we can show what that shot is. We'll have the sequence, we'll have the scene number, we'll have where, if it's interior or exterior, the location, what time of day it is, the name of the shot has a code, the description, and what it is we're actually going to do, and the type of work, and what is the expectation. So all of this has to be done in order for us to understand what the budget is. And then it all tallies up. So then we go into when all the budgets are in, usually the day before, 2 days before, 3 days before we are about to hit the cameras, all the departments will sit down. The director sits at the head of the table, and we all go through the script line by line by line. So you read through the entire script, and every department then speaks up about what they feel, if there's anything that they feel unsure about, or if there's something that they feel needs to be discussed. This is a very, very important meeting because this is days before camera. Then on the visual effects side of it, so while we're on set shooting, on the visual effects side of it, here we are, we will start with prevising our characters. So for example, if we have a boat, a CG boat that we have to create that's going in the water, we would want to create something that will tell the director and the DP how best to shoot it, what position, how best to set up the crew, set up the cameras, what the limitations are. It is very important. So by doing this, we show them the movement of the boat. And this way they can then say, okay, that angle doesn't work for me. So this is when we are first setting up the character we're creating this character, and that's what they would want to see, right? Because ultimately we're trying to shoot this image, and we need to show them what it's going to be, what angle, how large in frame do we want to see pink? And is that what resonates with the director? So it's a very important stage, prevising. And in order to do that, we have to build a CG boat. Okay. Next, there we go. So when we finish creating that asset, we then create this kind of previs. Now this is where the director will say, okay, the water is too rough or the boat is going too fast. Slow it down a bit, that kind of thing. So this tells how to, again, as I said, set the camera angles. Okay. So we've done the previs. We're ready to now shoot. Principal photography, they understand what the limitations are. They set up the cameras, everybody is on point. We've got more than 120 people on set, and everyone being paid for that full day. So if you can appreciate for a moment, you have 120 people on set, sometimes 200, and everyone's being paid for that day of work, and you've got to make sure you're shooting, getting all the shots in. So if there's a delay of an hour, that's an hour times 200 people. So that's 200 hours. Very impactful. So that's why we have to be very prepared when we go to camera. Action. So this is what a director would be shooting. He'd have a blue screen stage set up. This boat will be on, as you can see right now, it's a gimbal and it's moving back and forth. And he's shooting, this is a pool of water. It's not out there in the ocean. This is a pool filled with water, and there's a green screen because we're going to put the ocean behind. So these are the types of shot that you'll shoot on the day of. So now if we cut this into an edit and show it to you and say, our movie is done, you guys will say, huh, what's that? So wait till you see the final product. So here we go. So now Jess, on this one here, you can see that their water is raining down and she is on a boat, right? Oops, let's go back here. Yes. So she's on the boat, it's water's raining down, and that's all you're seeing. You see the markers there. That's to indicate that we have to put, the ocean behind her, right? So we finished shooting on set. Now, the next stage, the last stage is post-production. So post-production is where the directors sit down with the editors, talented editors, and tell the story. Make sure that the story would be one that will keep us all riveted to our screen. If you're on an iPhone, you'll be riveted. If you're on a laptop, you'd be riveted. If you're on a big screen TV or in the theaters. So that's the goal in editorial, because we can put beautiful visuals, but unless you have a great story and it's told in a way that, you know, keeps you glued, then, you know, we can't help that much. So here we go. So trying to figure out what is the best story, what scene, what angle is the best cut that we should take, that we should put in the cut. So for example, now here, going back here. So this is what was shot. And this is what we delivered. So this was the plate. And this was the temp delivery that the delivery that we made. Let's go back. I think I missed what. This is the plate. Oh, wow. Wait, hold on. That's not sure why it's doing that, but let's go. This is what we delivered, a time lapse. On the left side was a plate, and this side is what was delivered. You've already seen that one. Now, time for turnover. This is when the director sits with the team at Spin and go through what the expectations are for the shot. So we go through that, we talk about it, we know what the expectations are, then our process begins in earnest. So all the other work that we were doing thus far has been upfront work. Now we get the plate in, we're tracking the plate to make sure that it all works with our CG. We're making sure that the layout works. These are all temps so far. The process is organic and it moves. Then there are various phases within visual effects that we go through. While our animators are working on animating the boat, we have our effects artists. They take the boat and they're creating the effects so they can create wake in the water. So that's what this is here. They're creating wake, how the boat is moving. So all of this goes on. These are all small stages within our pipe. Then we go into lighting, because you have to have special lighting. You have to make sure that the lighting is matching and enhancing the moments that you want. And it's got all the swirls and it creates the drama. And, you know, you have to feel watching this film that, you know, is she going to survive? So that's what lighting does. And then here, when you put it all together, here's what you get. You have the windstorm. And in this one, we didn't have lightning flashes, but in other shots we did. So if you were to look at it for a moment, going back from here, tracking and layout, we start off with tracking, making sure that we're matching to the plate. Then we go into effects phase, creating the rippling of the water. Is it too fast? Is it too slow? The movement of the boat, the motion of the water, those are the things we consider. Is it dangerous enough? Water falling from above. The lighting of it, getting the lighting coming from the right direction? What part do we want to accentuate and highlight? And what part do we want to keep in the dark to create a menacing feel or a treacherous feel? And then putting it all together. When you see it on a big screen, it is magnificent. And then that's really showtime, right? Because you get to see it. You get to see it in the theaters, on your iPhone, on your TV, wherever you wish. So what I will do, now that's just one shot that I've taken you through. Let me show you our breakdown reel for what I call, the show is called True Spirit on Netflix. So that's a quick way of showing you the process that we go through. Now, if we have a creature development, that's a whole other thing, but that's for our next session. What I want to show to you guys is, so there's a lot of great jobs that can be had by anyone, and there are varying degrees of job. You could be an animator, you could be a creature designer, you could be a crowd expert, you could be an effects artist, you could, if you are, you know, technologically inclined, you could do tracking. If you know camera, you could do layout. If you like to light up a scene and create something magical, you could be in lighting. Or you could be in compositing, matte painting, shot finaling, where you work with the artist to develop that final look. You could be a VFX producer. You could be a CG supervisor, whatever you wish. So these are all different jobs within visual effects that you can do if you so choose. And there's a fit for everyone, for the artistic, for those that are artistic, for those that feel they are more technology driven, for those that want to draw and then scan and work in digital work, for those who likes to create whole new worlds. That's available to you. You just have to want to explore it. And compositing, this is my favorite here, because everything all comes from all the various departments and lands on compositing doorstep. And then they take that and put it all together to create the final piece. It is beautiful work. We have at SPIN, we have our SPIN Academy. And our SPIN Academy, we do training, we do provide mentorship, and we retrain our team, and we do that for others who are not part of our team. And so this is available to anyone. You just have to apply and want to be a part of that academy. I think I will stop there for today because I know it's a lot and I would love to take your questions. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment.
Excellent.
And go back here.
Oh, Neisha, that was so fascinating. There are some questions, and very interestingly, if you could describe for us what your average day is like for you. You're the head of the studio. So is it all budgeting? Is it all clients? What do you do all day?
Oh boy. Well, I have to tell you that if it was all budgeting, it would be a very lonesome world for me. I work with the artists and the team every day. I'm not, as head of studio, I don't have a little crown and sit there in my ivory tower. No, no, no. I roll up my sleeves and I get in there on the shows with the team, because why? We all work together. As I said, it's collaborative. So, I'm talking with the clients. I know what the job expectation is. I work with the teams, whether it's a CG soup or our HR team on hiring, our marketing team on, what kind of image do we want to represent out there for Spin? Who do we want to showcase? I work with our production team to talk about the shows and help them problem solve or see things a bit differently. And most of all, I am so fortunate to work with a very talented team. So if they have any problem, I'm their second.
Fabulous, fabulous. Now, talk about, what do you, Neishaw Ali, look for when you hire production people? So what does it take to be a good production person?
So there are two things. You have to, when you're being interviewed for a position, and you should always be straightforward with what you know and what you don't know. Because why? It helps us to understand what to teach you, what to shore up. But you have to have the fire in your belly. You have to want the job and be passionate about it. And you don't come to us because of money. You come to us because of passion and of the work, and you want to work with a team, and you want to create. You want to be inspired, and you want to be mentored, and you want to offer mentorship when you get to that level.
Totally
So
agree.
very important.
Totally agree. Now, a student asks, how can she get into the industry besides networking? She has no connections. Is there a path that you can recommend?
I think by virtue of being here, she's gotten the path already. And great question, by the way. And yes, because there's a lot of people that don't know, and it breaks my heart. But we are here to teach. And, look, you are the future of our industry, and we are obliged to find time to train you. You have to come to us ready to do it and ready for the commitment. This industry is amazing, but with it, it's not for the faint of heart. If you have passion and drive and you are determined, anyone will give you a chance. Maybe not anyone, but a lot of people I know will. And we can help with that, because at the VES, one of the reasons why we're doing this, it's because we see the value, and we know we are committed to making sure that those that want to can be trained.
One thing I always like to recommend to students who would like to break into the industry, we are very reel driven, REEL driven. So by volunteering to your local college filmmaking community, or even in high school, just try some roles out. Maybe you download, you can learn anything on the internet now. You could get a free student version of Nuke. Nuke is a compositing tool. There are so many ways that you can prepare yourself for this industry. You don't need to have an uncle to hire you in the industry, right, Neishaw? I mean, people
and
themselves.
Very great point, Rose. So for the artists, the team of artists, yes, to show your initiative, and because if you truly love it, you would already be doing that. So what Rose said is a wonderful way. And there are, like, for example, Nuke is what we use for compositing. And if you go on to the website, you'll see that they have student version and so forth. Maya is another one we use for modeling. And you do that, you'll find that. For the production team, volunteering, doing summer gigs, and finding out, rule it in. Is it for you or isn't it for you? Is a great way to better understand, when you grow up, what do you want to be? Where do you want to spend your precious time?
That's right, because you can rule out a lot of jobs. Maybe you love being a camera assistant, but you hate being a production person. Maybe your skill set is in communication, which really is, I think, production people. They have to be egoless. They have to just I was called a mother hen by a lot of people because I was in production, and it wasn't about making myself powerful or big. It was about, what do you need? What can I do to make your life easier? Since you mentioned some software, Neisha, is there any software that production people should learn?
They should know Excel very well.
Oh, good.
And Shotgun is one that's widely used in our industry. So Excel allows you to understand, if you know Excel, then you will know how to budget if you are so inclined. Shotgun is almost all the visual effects studio use that for shot tracking. Even clients use that when on their side. So if you know that, you're already halfway there. In addition to that though, you should know how to use the Google setup, Google worksheets and share, because a lot of information is shared that way, and Google Slides for presentation, for this, for that. It is very important. And I think soft skills, which Rose alluded to, is extremely important, because if you're on set, how you conduct yourself is extremely important. You could be on set for one day and make a great impression, or you could be kicked off. Because on set, when you have 150 people, highly paid individuals working at breakneck speed, one word, or if you're in the wrong place, could halt things. So you have to understand the soft skills there that is required before going on set. In a studio as well, how you speak to your superiors, well, not superiors, but your leaders and your mentors is very important. How you conduct yourself and how you work as a team. Those are things that are very important when given where you're at.
Just a quick example. I remember on a Star Trek movie, it was like my first time being on a set, and the effects crew, we all went to lunch. Oh my gosh, when I got back, did I get an earful from the assistant director, the AD? You're supposed to check in when you leave a stage. It's basic info that we as a young, fresh team didn't know. All right, a couple more questions here. How did you start your business? What did it take to find clients, build in a VFX and business team, and stay within budgets in the beginning?
Those are all fantastic questions, and I would love to know who asked that. And this young mind that asked that is wonderful. Thinking about that, a producer in the making, right there.
All right, good.
So, I actually have been at Spin for 30 years, and I started off as the front desk person. Okay, I started off as a receptionist now, and I worked my way up. I learned every single thing. Now my department was never a thing. Okay, so you cannot say, I'm going to do just what I'm hired to do and that's it. Luckily, that was a young company. They had opened their doors 3 months earlier, and we were servicing the commercial market. When we ventured in 1992, I became a partner at Spin. And in 1999, we decided that we were going to start into, make our foray into film and television. Well, it was hard. It was very difficult. But you have to, first of all, don't overextend yourself. You have to be smart about your decisions, because you don't have a lot of money. There's not enough time. So whatever it is you are going to do, you have to make sure that you spend the time and focus attention. In terms of, how do you retain clients? You have to build trust. And you don't build trust in year 1, 2, 3, 5, or 6. It takes years. And one client speaks to another and another and another, and that's how you build trust. Without that, it's hard to function. You have to be careful that you don't get greedy about growth. And if you don't, and you have to have process. We cannot deliver any show without a solid production process and pipeline. So your production team have to be top notch. They have to be very focused. They have to be the attention to detail, because one show could be 500, 600 shots. And if you are not, and that's only one show, we have 6, 7 shows on the floor at any given time. And lastly, we are not perfect by any means, and there's just always have to evolve and do better. In terms of staying on budget, it's a myth. So you have to do your best to always make sure that you're delivering the creative quality that you promise, and not going back and asking for more money because, you know, you ran over. It is your responsibility. If you say you're going to deliver this, you know, a table, you have to deliver a table at the quality level that you committed to. If they now want, you know, you said a 2-foot table and they want a 4-foot, that's an additional cost. So you have to know your pipeline, you have to know the talent level of your team, and you have to be able to take those two and say, okay, this is what I think it's going to take, and then schedule that out and make sure that your team are working at efficiency levels so you can get that done within the time. It is what we strive for, but I will tell you, it is difficult, and we win some and we lose some, but it all manages itself out in the wash. So, you know, you look at all the projects as a whole, and you have to decide, do you want to do simple work or do you want to do complex work? Complex work, you may not get it right the first time. Simple work, you're more likely to. So that's where the challenge, and that's the growth period for you.
Well, I love what you're saying about trust, Neisha, because I agree with you. You have got to be transparent with your clients, tell them when you're in trouble, never surprise them. That is how you build trust. Here's another question. It's very specific. Thank you for your presentation. If one wants to become an effects editor, what are the right steps? Does it take a degree? What kind of experience? What would you suggest to this person that wants to be an effects editor?
So a VFX editor, so there are 2 types, right? There's one effects editor, a VFX editor that would work on the production side and works in the editorial suite with, so when the editor is cutting the edit with the director, they would be there to tag the VFX work, right? That's one type. There's another type that I work with that I've got, you know, 5 or 6 right now working with us on our shows. And they are the ones that they take the show, they ingest the show, they work with the team, they look at every shot, they cut edits together. So if you're talking about that one, either one really, you would, and if you're out of school, depending on where you're at and want to work, all you have to do is try to get a mentorship. You should learn an editing software, which you could learn if you want to work on the production side with the editor that's cutting the edit with the director. That would be an Avid. If you want to work on a visual effects side, you can work with, I think, Nuke has an editor portion of it. You should use that. You could use and not Photoshop, but there's another one, and it's very important for you to know that, because, and if not, you could say, I'm interested, and then learn the software, and then we can bring you into Spin and teach you and mentor you.
I really appreciate that. And I think what you're saying is you don't need a degree.
You don't need a degree.
Practical experience, you are going to be ahead of the game. All right, yeah. There are a couple more questions. How do you hire and choose the VFX supervisor for each show? What kind of skills or what attributes contribute to your choice?
Great question. Whoa. Oh, these are from how old?
Oh, they're in high school.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that question. So a VFX supervisor is very integral to the show because they have to be creative, they have to be technical, they have to have great communication skills, they have to know how to break down a budget, and they have to work with the team both on set and in studio at a facility. So there are two types of VFX soup, one that's on set only, but then there's ones that can do both. So for example, how do I choose them? I choose them for those reasons. I choose someone who knows their craft, because they have to be able to be on set and stand beside a director and say to the director, I don't think if you want to do that, I believe, we would need to then do this. So they will provide solutions to the director. And when you're on set, you got to be like that, because everything is happening at breakneck speed and you got to make sure you provide for it. Oh, we need a green screen there, because if you don't, we won't be able to get the work done. So they have to have that kind of, they have to know how to be able to work well with all the other departments on set. And then internally, they also have to take that director's vision now and be able to share that with our team and work with the team to make sure that they have to give references. Sometimes they have to create style frames, and they have to work with the team to direct and make sure that that vision, at the end of the day, when it goes through all the 15 departments, we are getting exactly what we want. So it is a very critical role. And most importantly, they have to be able to treat everyone with how they are going to want to be treated themselves, because not every artist are at the same level, and some may require more prodding and more gentle nurturing and guidance, and they have to be able to provide that support to get what they want out of them. So you can't have someone coming being all arrogant. That's not going to work for us, but they have to be confident, and they have to have their vision, and sometimes vision change by the director, not by them, by the director.
It's so true. I think a big part of the job and of your job is to assess when the client calls you, oh, we need effects for this movie. You have to meet the director and the producer and see who will work best with them.
Correct.
And it's a team. It's an effects supervisor and an art director that I used to team up and pitch to a director. And sometimes the client will say, I don't like that person, or, I'm not going to get along with that person. So you really have to work with the client and satisfying them.
Actually, you know what, Rose, to that very important point, I just want to say to you, I have had to switch out VFX soup before.
Yeah.
And I have had to, and it's very important to know that it's a matchup. Yes.
That's right. It totally is. It's a match skill. All right, we're going to close, but I want you to address something very important. How will virtual production impact VFX? How will AI impact VFX? And
Beautiful.
then we'll shut the door on this great presentation.
Virtual production is already here, and it will, it is a change in the way we think. So for example, when you are on a virtual set, all the work that is usually done in post has to be done up front. And I think the change in the mindset of the director, when they first come onto a project, they're trying to wrap their head around this show, this movie, and get into the brain of it. So it's a bit difficult for them to start thinking about, okay, set design, when they have yet to do that. So how it will impact when we are able to have a lot of preparation up front, like months and months, and where the director and DP and visual effects team are on from the start and working together to map out the entire show before we go to production. Because then they know, but when they all come on board the very first time, it's very difficult. With regard to AI, oh yes, AI has been here for a while, right? We've been using it for many things, and it wasn't as prevalent. But today, I am hoping that AI is going to help us to be more efficient. So for example, roto tracking and, computations like rendering and so forth. I believe if we can use AI to help us with those things, then our artists who are working on a shot can have more time to be allowed to be creative. So we have to figure out these new tools and how to embrace them and learn them. Please do not shut yourself out. You need to learn them. You need to understand what they can do for us, actually, what they can do for you, so you can be more creative. So instead of right up to the last minute, you're solving something that, just got broken or that's not working. If you had someone AI figuring that out for you while you are, looking at the shot saying, how do I make it better? I believe that's what AI is going to do, help us to do.
That's exactly right. Do not be afraid of the future. Embrace it and learn the tools, and we'll hire you. Neisha, thank you so much. Thank you really, really from the bottom of my heart. I thought it was a great presentation, and I hope we inspired some young people to enter our field. And I just want to thank everybody for participating. We had over 200 students listening in on you today.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Nice. Thank you so much,
so
Rose,
much.
as always.